Big Value, Big Business Podcast, episode 18.
Welcome to the Big Value, Big Business Podcast with James Lynch, where we talk with today's most successful marketing minds about getting the right message in front of the right people and getting the right people to become your customers for life. And now, your host, James Lynch.
All right, welcome back, my friends, to yet another edition of the Big Value, Big Business Podcast. I am your host, James Lynch. I am really big time super excited about my very special guest today. Her name is Michelle Dale. Michelle is the founder and CEO of virtualmissfriday.com, a world-class online business consultancy specializing in cutting-edge online business development solutions. Michelle is also a self-proclaimed traveling digital nomad. Let's bring on Michelle and take a deep dive into the evolution of virtualmissfriday.com and the digital nomad lifestyle. Michelle, hello. How are you today?
Hi, James. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me and for such a lovely introduction. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and it's very well deserved. And I want to thank you for coming on the show today. And I'm really excited, for you to share just, your journey in building this virtualmissfriday.com virtually out of nowhere, into a world-class business consultancy. Dealing business with people all over the world, and while all the while providing all this big value for all your customers. So that's the format. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds fun. Cool.
Awesome. Okay, let's get a start. Just a little history. I'm really intrigued about your pack it up and hit the road kind of story. So, tell us a little bit about Michelle Dale, where you came from, and a little bit about your journey that brought you here to where you are today.
Okay, well, I don't know if you can tell by the accent, but I'm originally from the UK, so I'm a British girl. And basically, I had a very kind of bog standard upbringing. I grew up, my parents got divorced when I was 8, but, it was, it was just very standard. They both working class parents, and I was brought up in a very kind of average household, and it was just a very average life. And then one day I realized when I was about 23 years old, how average my life actually was. And it was, I kind of worked my way up. I left home and school at 16, so I was a little bit of a rebel then anyway, and I would travel around the country taking different jobs and never really finding that kind of fulfillment that you get, that you feel that you should have with work. Because of the working class family I had, it was like work hard and get your nose down and find a job and stay in it forever and then retire, and then you might be able to enjoy life. But I was not too happy about waiting till I reached 65 to get to the point where I enjoyed life. So, I kind of, at the age of 23, I sort of had this idea that I could sell my house, quit my job, just take a laptop and start traveling and just, take off. And I did it really quickly. From the time I made the decision to the time I left, it was 3 months. So I just kind of, got my affairs all sorted out. Everyone thought I was nuts, but, I thought to myself, it has to be quick because I don't want anyone to talk me out of this. So I just basically went off seeking an alternative life that, that nobody had sort of ever presented to me before, that I kind of thought to myself, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll come back and I'll accept life the way it is. But fortunately, touch wood, it did work out, because I'm 33 this year, so that was when I was 23. So it's 10 years ago, and I haven't been back to live in the UK ever since I left. I had a one-way ticket out. And I met my husband, and I had 2 kids along the way, and now we're all traveling around the world, and we're running the business, and it's cool. It worked out.
Well, tell me what went through your mind. Did you know what you wanted to do back when you were 23, or you just said there had to be more than this? I'm just going to go travel and just find myself.
I had no idea what I was going to do, and I had no idea really what I wanted to do. But I think the driving force behind it was more because I knew what I didn't want to do. Because I had all these different jobs, and none of them. I mean, I had some great jobs and all different kinds of varieties of things in hospitals and restaurants and hotels and things. And every time I went to a new job, I always thought, right, this is going to be it. This is going to fill my cup. And I would get there and I would be there for 6 months or, a year. And I would think this just isn't doing it for me. I don't wake up in the morning and want to leap out of bed and you get straight to work. It was just a process of earning money, to live. And it just didn't feel right to me. And after I'd done that for so many years, I thought to myself that, this isn't work, something isn't working. And I knew what I didn't want to do. And I didn't want to keep going in that cycle of going job to job, not feeling fulfilled, not feeling happy, not feeling like I wanted to, leap out of bed every morning. And I thought to myself, well, I need time, I need time to discover, what I should be doing. And basically my idea at the time was to start traveling, because I felt like I needed to really get out of that kind of environment I felt like it was keeping me stuck in this on this hamster wheel. So I wanted to get out of that environment, which is why I kind of booked, the one way to get out of there. And I came to a very cheap to live sort of country where I knew that it would give me the time and the sort of breathing space that I would need. And I took my laptop, and as soon as I got to where I was going, I opened up my laptop and I just started constantly researching about online business and how to make money online and how to make money while traveling. And I mean, I came up with all sorts of ideas. And then basically I shortlisted them, and then I went through them, and then I thought, really, I don't want to do that, or I can't do that, or something like that. And then I came across virtual assistants, and I thought to myself, well, that could really work, because, I've got this sort of the skills offline that I could start creating services with. And then all I have to try and do is translate that into online and then find clients online. And then I've got a business. So it was just one of those ideas that I thought I would start trying, or I'd focus on. And then literally for 2 years, it just consumed me. I was just learning everything about online business. I was learning how to build websites, all self-development, just through finding things online and tutorials. And I learned how to use, all these Adobe products like Photoshop and Dreamweaver. And I was always up to date, with systems and ways of working that were coming out, and also a lot of online marketing. Because because back then, the internet was very different to what it is now. And in 2005, it was, really working online and sort of making money through the internet was still very new. And it was all very hyped up and internet markety and, highlighted yellow stuff and everything.
Spammy.
Yeah, really spammy and cheesy, and
you're not the first person to say that. Of the successful people that I've interviewed, they got their start there, and you felt kind of dirty.
Yeah, it really, really did, and I didn't want to go down that road.
Right.
So I started looking into alternatives of successful people who were sort of real human beings that seem to be making money online through, humanity rather than kind of pushy sales like tactics that get you to click when you don't want to click type thing. So I started just following these people and really learning all I could and coming up with ideas and things that I could, I would find business tools and I would think, well, that could be used for this instead of what it's meant to be used for. And, and I would just, basically constantly do that. And I would sit there for hours and hours and hours every single day. And I think it was at that point I realized that I'd kind of found my calling, I suppose, in a way, because I used to think to myself, God, I've just sat here for 14 hours straight, and I've just worked through all this stuff and I don't feel tired. I had lots of energy. I was motivated. I felt good about it. I wanted to wake up the next morning and start again. And it was at that point when I realized that I'd found what I'd been looking for, I think, in many, many ways. Because I had all this energy to do it, whereas I definitely wouldn't have before when I was working.
So many nuggets there. I just love, and I love how you wrap that particular segment up with, you went from, oh God, I got to get up and do this again, go to a dreaded job, and then turn around and say, I've just worked 14 hours and I don't even feel it, and I can't wait to just catch a quick nap and start it again. That's fantastic. And I love it. And I'm going to use this as a quote because you said it just didn't fill your cup.
No.
I love that. I totally love that. And I can only imagine just at 23. I mean, I recall when I was that age and, wild and crazy kind of thing, and really not given much thought to what I'd be doing for the rest of my life, nor did I feel, it was day to day. But so remarkable that you had the mindset to know, there was something more. I just got to get up and get out there and see. Just walking in, handing your notice, and I can just only imagine, what that felt like, and just saying, no turning back.
Yeah, I really shit myself actually, doing it, and everyone, because everyone just thought it was an insane thing to do. And but if I hadn't have done it, if I didn't try it, I think that would have been more insane.
Sure. What if?
Yeah. So I just figured I'm just gonna get up and do it, and I'm not gonna go back down. And I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs as well will probably say the same thing. Once you get that thing in your head and you make that decision, the only way is there's one way, and it's forward. And you just keep doing it, and you keep doing it until you get to where you want to be. So that was the kind of mindset I was in at the time when I went ahead and did that. And I was really young, but because I've been working since I was 16, it didn't feel that way. And I'd bought and sold 5 properties by the time I was 23. I had my dream home. I had my dream car. I mean, I in a way, I was very successful because I'd managed to work my way up the ladder when a lot of my friends were coming out of university and going to work in coffee shops and things. So I felt like my time was very well spent. And I think because I had so many jobs and I did so many things at such a young age, I mean, that's how it all ended up happening when I was so young, because I wasn't, kind of out there, at college or having fun or, messing around with my friends. I was working and I was paying my way and earning a living. And I think it just didn't feel right to me that work, you should work and it should not be enjoyable. It didn't feel that was the way life was meant to be. So I went looking for something else.
I totally resonates with me, and I know it resonates with a lot of my listeners. And being, of the entrepreneurial spirit, that is great. And you're so lucky to have had that insight, and just to be working while everyone was off partying at school, and getting your hard knocks then, and then saying, if this is all there is, I'm not going to do another 30, 40, 50 years doing this. So fantastic, and kudos to you. That is great. So tell me, when you I read briefly your bio, and gosh, you move into a different country with a language barrier, and I did see that you did you sell rugs, Persian rugs on eBay, or Egyptian rugs? Did I see that?
Well, when I got here, I kind of did need a way to earn money.
Got to make money. Yeah. One of the things you listed.
Yeah, one of the things I listed was when I was doing my research was, to sell things on eBay. And I thought, well, I sold all my stuff when I was in the UK. I've got nothing to sell. All I had was a suitcase and a laptop. So I walked into, there's loads of bazaars in Egypt, and I walked into a bazaar, and they were selling rugs. And I thought to myself, okay, well, what if I could sell these authentic, Egyptian rugs in places like England and America? So I just kind of went into the post office, and I got all the prices for the weights of shipping and things like that. And I just went into the shop, and I told this guy that I wanted to sell his rugs, and he was obviously very welcoming of the fact. And I made sure I got my prices all sorted with him, and I just took loads of photos of these rugs, and I just put them on eBay, and they did start selling, but I found it just way too tedious, and I didn't enjoy it. So it's like it tided me over.
Sure,
but
sure.
eBay fees were quite expensive, and shipping was quite expensive, but I did in fact sell quite a few rugs to people all over the world.
Well, it speaks to just being where you were, probably with a minimal savings and worried about that running out, you needed to make ends meet until you really got your feet.
Yeah, totally. And I was doing anything and everything to do,
Good
to
for
do that.
you. Good for
I mean,
you.
selling rugs was just one thing.
Yeah.
I also I got a job in a hotel as well, and I started working there for a little while. And, this was all while I was, sort of working on the business and trying to build that up. So, um, yeah, I just did what I could to kind of pay my way, until things took off, really.
And then you get the idea to the virtual assistant type services. So you started leaning into that, and hopefully that would take you to a full-time living, a full-time business. Tell me some of the challenges that you faced while trying to put that all together.
There were many, primarily because I was doing it from a foreign country, a sort of unknown country as well. And obviously, I was in the Middle East. It's also a bit of a third world country here, so there were all sorts of challenges with internet, with language barriers, stuff like that. So, I mean, I knew that I wouldn't be able to acquire a sort of client base locally, so I made my focus really to do with finding clients online. And at the time, I read a lot of stuff about how to find customers online, if you're selling an ebook or something like that. But to actually work in an office style environment where you're supporting other businesses, it was quite a challenge to try and find different ways to be able to connect with people. And then also, you had that massive trust element that, everyone was sort of quite backwards then in coming forwards, and nobody really understood the internet, and everyone thought it was just, for chatting to people on, AOL and answering emails and things like that.
Hooking up.
Yeah, it wasn't used for business. And so that was really challenging for me at the time. But it's totally a numbers game. I mean, it was back then. Now it's totally different because you've got things like blogging and social media and, all this good stuff, which, didn't necessarily exist back then. I mean, Facebook is only 10 years old. So, I mean, I was starting out around the time that Facebook was just, coming on the scene before it was what it was today. So there was no social media back then. There was nothing. So it was a challenge. But I'm very lucky because I've seen the changes have been happening, in the internet over the last sort of decade, and it's been phenomenal. And now I mean, I'm more excited about it today than I was 10 years ago about it. And just seeing how it's changed, I can't wait for the next 10 years.
It's the sky's the limit now with the way we engage and communicate and network.
Yeah. So, I mean, all the challenges I faced before, like working from a foreign country, not being in the same location as my clients, not being able to find, English speaking clients online, that's the whole playing field has just changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's history. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was the turning point? What was the your big breakthrough? So just listening to what you were saying about there was no social media, there was no real means of engagement. So you really had to reach out to people and get them to know, like, and trust you. And unlike now, where a lot of folks like you and me look to outsource our stuff to places unknown all over the world. How did you reach people? How did you email them? Did you engage with them on their blogs, comments? There was no social media, so how did you network?
Yeah. Well, I just basically used the resources that were available back then. Most of them were like online business directories, things like, I don't know whether you have it in the States, but Yale, like phone books, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So there was some sort of digital business directories that I would go and list my name and my website in. There was a couple of virtual assistant forums and other sort of sort of startup business forums and things that I would, join and put my name on and, chat and interact and see if I could solicit some business. But it was a huge challenge back then because everyone was like, well, what's the virtual assistant? So I had to do a lot of educating with people. And I think it was really interesting because although there was a lot of people doing it back then, there was a lot of people doing virtual assistants because there were sort of people who were work-at-home mums and they were giving up their jobs to sort of stay at home, look after their kids. And then they sort of had local people, local clients that they would work with that they would maybe go and visit once a week. But I didn't have that luxury. So I had to just get really, really creative with what was available to me online and with connecting with people as much as I could. And it was very difficult because there was no social media. So I would go to people's blogs and people's websites and just, contact them and offer my services and, try and explain the concept of a virtual assistant and just see what came back really. And that my very first client was a guy who wanted some customer support for his internet marketing business. So that's how it sort of started really. And then I realized, that I should probably just be, rather than trying to target all these people offline, I should probably be trying to target just people who have websites and are already working online and maybe have online businesses already. So I started going in that direction, which was a little bit easier because they'd already had an online business. But still the education part was quite difficult, but you just make the best of what you got and you scratch around until you get a break or, a door open and then you kind of cling to it. I also told, all my friends about what I was doing and I just said to them, tell everyone about me. If you see anybody with a business or anything like that, just tell them about me and just get them to contact me because I might be able to help them. So, and then I also started doing projects for free for people. Just so I could start getting some testimonials in and from feedback from people, because that's another thing. It's like, when you've got no feedback from anybody about what you do, you can tell people till they're blue in the face, but then they're like, well, what have you done for people? Can you give me a resume or a CV and things like that, which is like, again, archaic. It's like land of the dinosaurs, asking for a resume when you're a business owner. But I just started at that point, I realized I've got to do some stuff for free for people just so I can build up a bank of testimonials, just proving that I can do this stuff online. And that's basically what I did. And as soon as I started getting the testimonials, then, things started to change a little bit for me. It was much easier contacting people because I could show them what I'd done for other people. So it was easier.
That flies right in the face of what I talk about when I talk about big value and giving value up front. You can't, it's the old adage, I need a job, but you don't have any experience. Well, how can I get experience if you don't give me the job, kind of thing? So you do. You have to put yourself out there. You have to volunteer. You have to prove your worth until you build that base and be able to be referred. Yeah, I love it. And, I want to say one more thing I think we should put on your current resume is you are a virtual assistant pioneer. You pioneered the industry back when there was virtually no virtual assistant. You started and you've built it up till now over the last 10 years. And I can definitely say that if you started back then and everything that you did is just a testimonial to the building of that industry online. And I salute you because you definitely are a pioneer.
Oh, thank you so much. It's very, very kind of you.
No, but think about it. I mean, I speak the truth, and everyone that's listening, I'm sure, will agree. Just listening to that story, I want to talk about the magic of strategic generosity in business. When we're talking about giving our best stuff up front, sometimes, what is your current? Obviously, it's a differentiating value proposition, and tell us a little bit about what you put into it, heart and soul, and the magic of that strategic generosity.
Well, it's done in a variety of ways, really. But I mean, my business now is split into two. So I work with clients and I work with virtual assistants as well. So I do training for virtual assistants on how they can build their business. And I also work with clients through sort of consulting, providing services, website services and stuff. So, I mean, one way to certainly add value to any person, I think a lot of people, when they think about value, they don't really... Everyone has a different concept of it. For me, value is being able to charge whatever I need to do the absolute best possible job I can for the client and provide the absolute best possible service. So the way I add value is I am constantly staying up to date with everything in the online world. I work my arse off for it, and I don't charge anybody for learning. I don't charge anybody for, my expertise and things like that. So, I mean, what you can bring to the table just by staying very current and very up to date and really ahead of your game is a huge amount of value for any client that you're working with. But I also look for ways that I can add value through providing excellent customer service online, through making my own time more efficient when working with clients, and also through, bartering, which is, a lot of people, tend to kind of shun really. But it's like, for example, I had a client once from a client perspective. I had a client once who had a membership site and he had loads and loads of members. And I started working with him, just kind of working on managing and maintaining his membership site. And I could see that there was so much potential in there from his members. So basically I said to him, I will, if you advertise me inside your membership area, for every member that comes back to me and does some business with me, I will give you money off your invoice. And he said, okay, well, that sounds okay. So he started advertising me and putting me in his newsletter and things like that. And for it was a slow build up, but for several months, consistently in a row, I worked for him for free.
Wow.
And I actually owed him money.
Can we renegotiate this contract? Because I'm upside down in this thing.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I'll give you 10% of whatever, comes back, and I'll take it off your invoice. And basically it worked out for him and it worked out for me. And, I basically ended up working for free for him. And a lot of people, I think, would say, well, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't be working for free for somebody and stuff. But you get so much more out of it than in exchange for what you put in. It's quite incredible. And then there's also another case where I, sometimes I pay for people, like, for example, the Magic of Strategic Generosity was a blog post I wrote because back in January I did a workshop, and what I did in this workshop is I invited people to come and see me. It was a day workshop, and I would teach this workshop, and then people could provide testimonials and things at the end. And there was one particular woman who I knew that if she came, she would just take whatever I taught her and she would run with it, and she would be fantastic and incredible. And I thought to myself, well, what kind of value would that add? Not for people who would, not only for, for myself as a testimonial, but for the motivation to get other people motivated to do the same thing that she did and everything. So I invited her and I paid for her to come. And, she was the absolute best person on the course, and okay, so it cost me a few $100s to get her there and, to sort of set her up and, get her in the workshop. But at the end of it, she absolutely flied, and she made like an extra £3,000 income, which is probably about, I don't know what it is in dollars, maybe $4,500-5,000 that month. Just from coming to that workshop. So I've got a fantastic testimonial from her, and off the back of that, then I get loads more sales, because I'm proving that what I teach and what I, my methodology, my ethics, my techniques, they work. So I'm all for investing in people to receive a return of not necessarily money, but something else which will help me also add further value to my clients, but also help, further establish my business, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. And I wanted to ask you, I usually ask for a gold nugget, and I was going to say, somebody looking to start a business and, just being able to, take that leap. But I want you to just kind of refocus on what you just told me, if you could. How would you have someone, how do you advise looking for those opportunities and presenting those opportunities? Are you just giving? Are you always just looking to be able to give of yourself and these opportunities present themselves? Or what's the chemistry there? What is the recipe to be in that kind of position?
I'm very inquisitive, but I have to say that I am more inclined towards people who really try, try to who show initiative, who show that that they actually do have what it takes. Because when you get to a certain degree of success in any business, you start to attract a lot of attention from people, and you start to get a lot of inquiries from various different people. And to start with, especially, a couple of years back when I was sort of quite naive, I would look at other people contacting me, asking me for advice, internships, can I help them in some way? And I would just be like, I wouldn't understand, or I wouldn't really know the difference between somebody who is absolutely serious and somebody who wasn't. Everybody wants to be successful. No one says, I have absolutely no interest in being successful. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to earn a decent, amount of money where they can live and take care of their family. But there is only probably about 1% of the population who are willing to actually work for it. And this is the real difference. And you have to learn to be able to spot the people who are talking about it, and spot the people who are actually committed to it. There's some people love the idea of it, but some people actually love the idea of making it a reality. And I tend to sort of I tend to be a very good spotter of these people who are really desperately trying. And you can look at someone these days and you can say, okay, that person's going to make it. Just through, even online, you don't have to meet them in person, but the way they talk, the way they blog, the way they're so consistent and everything, the way, just their positive outlook and their positive attitude, it's just, I am not going to fail ever attitude. And once I spot that in someone, yes, I am more than happy to, give them my energy.
Invest in them.
Yes, invest my energy and my time if I think that the outcome is going to be favorable. And if it's favorable for them, then it's usually favorable for me. And I've done that many times. People, particularly in third world countries, people are trying to get on their feet, that type of thing, because they're the kind of people that sort of really need the break. So I've worked with people out in the Philippines and given them free training and mentorship, and just, trying to get them off the ground. And it really works out. One of the people that I trained in the Philippines has just got a free place on Marie Forleo's B School. So she's in there right now, going, oh, I really, I'm so happy to be here. And Dale's great. And anyone looking to be a virtual assistant, you got to go and speak to her and things like that. And Marie Forleo's B School is huge. So, I've got somebody in there right now because of my time and energy that I gave them. And this was like in 2011, it's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Sure.
So, she's kind of talking about me, and I'm getting people contact me from that. So you just never know when and how things are going to work out. But the world is a very mysterious place, James.
Michelle, I just can't, you hit the value. That is the value. That is big value. That is what I talk about. And it's not just in, I started this blog, this podcast for, valuable advertising and messaging, and just stop pushing, getting in people's faces. But people like you have just opened up a whole nother world to me. And just that investing and recognizing and helping.
Yeah.
And just providing value to these people that need it. And it's just, I just can't tell you how enlightening and wonderful this conversation is for me to hear right now.
A lot of people are looking for instant gratification, and when you add value to people's lives, it's a long-term investment. You might not see it overnight, you might not see it in the next 6 months, but you will see it.
Right. I love it. And with my blog, my podcast, there's no advertisements. Eventually I'm going to have to monetize it if I want to make it my true vocation as well as my avocation. But I just want to bring your message, and people like you, that your message out there to people. And what a strong message. I'm so appreciative of everything that you've told me so far.
Oh, you're welcome. And you know something as well. I mean, you touched on advertising there, which is really interesting because I actually think that, you know, a lot of people think that, oh, that if they advertise in their blogs that, you know, they're trying to solicit money from people who are just there to learn. And in many ways, you know, that can be true when you're just advertising things that you don't believe in, or, you know, something that's earning the highest amount of money on ClickBank, or, you know, whatever. But if you actually, I mean, and I do this myself, if I actually go out and I try a service and I test it and I use it and it adds value to my business, it saves me time or it saves me money, then I will tell people about it. And if they have an affiliate program, I will put my affiliate link in there.
Absolutely.
I just think it's one of those things. I think when you go about advertising in the right way, you know, it can be very beneficial for all the people involved. But when you go about it in the wrong way, like this cheesy internet marketer thing that we were talking about before, you know, it can just go pop. It can go really wrong. So yeah, I mean, I also think I'm a big believer in karma and having faith in the universe and everything it provides. So I think the biggest thing that you can do is always just follow your instinct, you know, your true instinct about, you know, if something feels good and it feels right to do it, then you go ahead and do it, and just see where it takes you.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I love that, and I'm glad you brought that up because, and again, a lot of the folks that I have on, they would get flack from people that were used to getting all the free stuff, and why are you trying to monetize now? You're after our money, and then you really have to see beyond those people and just know that, this is stuff I wouldn't show you anything that I wouldn't use myself, haven't used myself, and I wouldn't endorse. And you know, why shouldn't I get compensated something if I'm providing a service? So absolutely, absolutely.
But I also do the same, you know, if somebody wants to recommend my services, I have an affiliate link, if, you know, and I'm quite happy for them to use it. You know, I want to give people money in exchange for, you know, advocating what I do. And it's not like I do it in a sort of shady kind of way. It's like, it's up to you. If you want to do it, that's fine. And if you take my program and you like it and you want to recommend it, I want to give you something for that. You know, it's, I don't know.
We're in business. We are business people.
Exactly. We got to make a living. You know,
we're in the business to help people, but we're still in business.
Yeah, you got to eat.
If I have to go dig ditches just to put food on the table and support my 2 kids in college, then, you know, that's less time I get to be here to be on with you guys.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, I think it's all swings and roundabouts, really. But I truly believe that if it feels right to you, if you have to question anything that you do in business, it's probably a good idea not to do it. But if it feels right and you think, no, this is a good thing because the audience benefits and all the client benefits and I benefit, so it's just kind of an all around good thing.
Agreed. And you're so wise, so wise. I'm serious.
Thank you.
Let me just switch gears here, and we'll start to wind down a little bit. But just on a personal level, we'll take it from the business perspective and kind of segue into, like, what gets you going. I mean, you have it really together. You're high energy. What do you do to keep up with? Do you have any rituals for productivity, accountability? How do you stay consistent in moving towards Michelle's goals?
Rituals, that's really interesting. I have one thing that I do that since I started doing it, it's actually there's a couple of things. I'll tell you about 2. Since I started doing them, they've completely changed the course of my business. The first one is that I sleep 4 to 5 hours at night, and then I have a sleep in the afternoon for about an hour and a half. I start work at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, and sort of between 5 and 8, that I can get so much. I can get a full day's work done during those hours. So to change my sleep pattern was a really phenomenal, life-changing thing. And another thing that I do is I really control my beliefs. I think that our belief system, like that saying, if you think you can or if you think you can't, both are right.
You're right.
Yeah. Either way, you're right. That is so true. And if you have a belief system where it's like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I don't think I could ever earn that kind of money, I mean, if you're in that mindset and you're in that frame of mind, you might as well give up now, because you're just going to keep staying in that same place that you always are. If you want to invoke change in your life, and you want to invoke success, and you want to push forward and get to where you want to be, you have to hold the end goal right in your mind all the time, not how you're going to get there, not, working on the details and then realizing that it's not going to work and just chucking it all in. You have to hold it, and you have to trust that the ideas will come, that the people will come, that the opportunities will come, and they will come at the exact moment that you need them, not when you think you need to control when you need them. So don't give up, just keep holding true. And I really work on my belief system. If I have a sort of negative belief, which I think is counterproductive to my vision or my goal that I want to achieve at the end, I try to get rid of it. I do affirmations about what I want. I keep my mind totally focused on the end result at all times, and it's powerful and it works. I don't dwell on worrying about things which haven't happened and may not ever happen. And I think that as people, we're so we're brought up in a society, particularly in the Western world, where we have to have backup plans and we have to have contingency plans in case anything goes wrong. But all that does is basically keeps affirming to you that things will go wrong. And if you don't believe that anything will go wrong, then okay, there'll be bumps along in the road. You're going to experience things that you may not necessarily consider good, but most of the time they are good, because you're learning from them and you're progressing, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. So just keep your mind focused on the end goal and keep reaching for it until you get there. And providing that you don't give up and you don't start thinking that you can't, you will get there. It's inevitable. It's almost a guarantee.
That is so powerful. And when you said, as a society, we're kind of, it's ingrained in us to have a contingency plan. It's if the what if to fall back on.
And I think I discovered that when I discovered that kind of lesson when I left, 10 years ago when I left the UK, because I did it and I just remained focused on what I was going to do. And I got here and that stage was over. And then I focused on the next goal and the next goal. And it's just been progressively escalating from there. And I continuously set myself new goals and I keep working towards them until they occur. And the only time they don't occur is if I give up or I start thinking to myself, kind of negative thoughts about them, like, oh, that'll never work, or, so it's, we're very powerful people. I mean, every single one of us is very, very powerful. And, when you think about, quantum physics and the way your brain works, and, our brains are the most powerful computers on earth, and they probably always will be. And if you learn how to work with that and work with the tools that you've got, that you were given from the day you were born, you can really create quite remarkable things, and you can create a quite remarkable existence. And I think what we have to focus on more than anything in order to be successful is not about making money, but about creating wealth. And the two are very, very different. Making money is about work. It's about not necessarily doing things that you want to do, but anything to just get that money in. But creating wealth is so much more inviting and much more interesting, because it's about creativity. It's about taking the gifts that you've been given, that we've all been given as individuals, and then learning what to do with them to create money from them. So again, that's about adding value to other people. And wealth creation is really about thinking about the possible ways that you can add value to other people's lives, and then as a natural progression, earning money from those things. And that is the absolute best combination. If you're looking to start a business, you really desperately want to go with the things that you're passionate about and feel positive about, and you want to make a difference to the world. And the more you make that difference, the more successful you'll become.
Wow. I totally agree. Totally agree. And that is such good stuff. And I so appreciate it. Woo! Got us really thinking here, Michelle. Tell me, do you belong to any mastermind groups or subscribe to any particular blogs? Where do you get your inspiration from? You have to keep that great mind of yours fueled in some kind of way.
Actually, God, you know what? I haven't. I've got a group. I host a group myself. I've got a membership site, and I do mentorship and coaching. But in terms of inspiration from other people, I haven't actually ever been part of a mastermind group or anything like that. But I do. I mean, one of the first people that I ever started following, like this was 10 years ago, was Yarrow Starrick. And I know he's been going through a lot of ups and downs at the moment, but I still feel that he is a very, very genuine person who will always provide very good advice and very good value to anybody who reads his blog. So I definitely recommend reading his blog. I also really like Marie Forleo. I mentioned her early on as well. I think she's got a fantastic energy. She's a little bit more sort of down the commercial road than I would have gone, but her advice is sound, and she's a really excellent entrepreneur to follow. I also follow Gary Vaynerchuk. I also follow Seth Godin. Seth Godin is like,
I love Seth Godin.
Oh, I know. I absolutely love him. I read his blog like religiously, and his books are fantastic. Read all his books because they are just full of such valuable information that you should really live a life by. And there is one book which I call is like my little Bible for business, which is The Science of Getting Rich, which is a book which is like 100 years old now. But the information that's contained within those pages is of such, it's really, really powerful, and it changed a lot of my mindset about business and work. So I think, it's Wallace D. Wattles, the Science of Getting Rich, 100-year-old book. But that is fantastic. So Gary, Yarrow, Marie, Seth. My big names, yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for that. Very inspiring, and we have a lot of the same books on our shelves. I'm reading Linchpin now. I'm in the middle of Linchpin, actually.
Awesome book. I think entrepreneurs tend to gravitate towards this information, these books, because I think so many entrepreneurs mention them in interviews, and what was your inspiration and things like that, and the same names come up over and over again.
Well, what does that tell you?
Exactly. You got to be listening to these people.
All right. Listen, you've been such a wonderful, wonderful guest and friend. Tell us about anything you have got going on right now you want us to be aware of, or basically, what we can find, where we can find, and how we can find you.
Okay, well, there's my website, which is virtualmissfriday.com. And I have, if you go to virtualmissfriday.com/subscribe, there is a free membership area where I have sort of free downloads about, I've just released a new one called A Decade on the Road, which was my top 10 experiences and real kind of biggest takeaways from being 10 years living on the road as an entrepreneur. So they can get that for free. And I'm also starting a weekly podcast as of the 2nd of May when I'm back in Greece. Yeah.
Podcast.
It's so time for me to do one of those. I do a weekly newsletter called eTravel Weekly, and I've decided to sort of elaborate on that a bit more and make that into a weekly podcast. So that starts on the 2nd of May. And so that's all inside my free members area. But I also, if anybody is interested in training or learning from me, or learning how, I've basically given away all my secrets and my business model and everything inside virtualmissfriday.com/roadmap, which is kind of all my training products and how to start a business, and how to make money online through providing services. So and there's my blog as well. I blog every week, and there's a free post on there every week. So my website is just a hive of information, and it's kind of like my centerpiece of where I live online most of the time. So and I'm more than happy to hear from people through social media, through Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and all those links are on my website too at the bottom in the footer.
Absolutely. And I'm signing up right now.
Cool.
I love it. You haven't heard the last of me, Michelle Dale.
Do you know that's music to my ears, because I just love people like you, James. You're so innovative, and you're really getting yourself out there, and providing value to people, and that's what it's all about. It's like that ripple effect, and that snowball effect. The more people like you there are in the world, the better the world is.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for that too. And with that, Michelle, I'm going to wrap it up, and I just so appreciate it. And I want to see, can I let it out that in 3 more months you're going to have a new family member?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pregnant currently. I'm 6 months pregnant, so I mean my baby's due in July.
Woo-hoo.
And yeah, it's baby number 3. I had my first baby from Egypt, then the second baby from France, and this baby is going to be born in Greece. So we've got one from every country.
Nice. Multicultural family.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. And I want to touch base with you between now and then, and especially when you do have your baby. I want to hear about it. I'm sure if I keep tabs on you, I will know when the blessed event occurs.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll tell people about it in my newsletter and on my blog and everything. So.
Sounds good. Listen, let's keep in touch, and thank you so much for your time today. You take care, okay?
You too, James. Bye.
All right, Michelle. Bye-bye now. All right. I hope you enjoyed our chat today with Miss Michelle Dale. Please visit Michelle at virtualmissfriday.com. Hey, you can find the show notes and the highlights of this interview at bigvaluebigbusiness.com, episode 18. Or just go to bigvaluebigbusiness.com and type Michelle, that's Michelle, into the search box for easy access. Hey, and while you're on the site, I would be extremely honored if you would sign up to become part of the Big Value Big Business family. You will receive via email weekly updates and highlights on every new podcast episode I launch. And then you can decide if you want to download each new episode and have a listen. Also, when you do sign up at bigvaluebigbusiness.com, you will also get a really cool free gift. I put together an awesome online business toolbox that has a ton of free internet tools and resources to help you build and grow your online business. So head on over to bigvaluebigbusiness.com and sign up today right at the top of the website. Hey, also, did you know you could listen to the Big Value Big Business podcast on iTunes? If you listen with your iPod or iPhone, and it would be awesome if you would subscribe there on iTunes to the show. And as always, a review on iTunes is very much appreciated. When you do leave a review about the podcast on iTunes, it helps us put the show in front of more people. So if you use iTunes, please subscribe. And lastly, as always, I hope we've brought some big value into your day. You take care, and I'll be talking to you real soon.
Thanks for listening to the Big Value Big Business Podcast at www.bigvaluebigbusiness.com.